Good morning, traders. Okay, just a little late here getting started. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get the link to share for you for the advanced order flow webinar. On Fridays, we hand that out to everybody. So those that are not using Bookmap at the moment, but want to sneak peek into our educational process, we give out the link so you can see that on Friday. So I'm going to put this into the chat here. Good morning, Marvino. Just a moment here. All right. So it's in the chat in GoToWebinar there. You should see it. Okay. So click on that and then they register. Now this webinar starts in about 25 minutes. Okay, so this is the basic webinar here. We go over platform details as well as just introducing you to Bookmap, who uses it, how to subscribe to it, how to connect it to the markets, and then basic order flow education. Okay, what is Bookmap showing you? Define the elements on the chart, and then start to read those elements together and start to define what's going on in the order flow. That said, we have the advanced order flow webinars, and there's quite a big distinction between the two. We really jump in and look at a lot of different market phenomena that Bookmap can uncover. We go through many time frames, many instruments, if you guys like, and really get into the details of what Bookmap is showing us. As a process here, it's objective, so we can anyone can start to use the same process, and then we start to anticipate where price might go based on reading this order flow. Okay, so anyway, that's a good way to see it in the live markets, so you guys know how to use it and then apply that when you're in the live markets. All right, well, let's jump into bookmap.com and introduce you to Bookmap. Okay, so what is Bookmap? Well, we're a software trading platform. Okay, no different than any other platform out there. Okay, we're not an indicator. We're not some sort of derivative of time, price, or volume. Okay, we're a platform, and the visualization of the data is the key here. That's the distinction that you get between us and other platforms. We're showing something that other platforms simply do not have, and you can use that to your advantage. All right, let's continue on. Who uses Bookmap? Day traders, scalpers, swing traders, and quants. Okay, we came from this quant environment, and you'll see during this webinar how we very precisely record all of the market data down to nanosecond levels. Just continue to zoom in. But as we zoom out, you'll note how we can start to use the visualization here, not just for sub-second levels, but on much, much higher time frames. Okay, and the majority of us, that's what we're looking at. You can do that in Bookmap because we record everything and plot it on the chart historically. Okay, all that depth of market from your dome, it's all recorded. All right, let's continue on. Connectivity. Bookmap connects to 3 different types of markets: futures, US equities, and digital currencies. Now, the digital currency data, that's free, and it's open 24/7. Okay, so no need to provide that. But for US equities and for futures, you will need to provide the data. Okay, this is pretty typical in the industry. We're software, we're not a broker, we're not a data provider. Okay, so the way that you connect US equities to Bookmap is with DX feed. Okay, that's the only option that you have. So if you trade stocks, what you'll need first is to subscribe to Bookmap, then to subscribe to DX feed. If you're a futures trader, you have many different options here. You have Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. You can connect to all of those with Bookmap. You can also connect to the API of other platforms like TTX Trader Pro, Ninja 7 and 8, and Interactive Brokers, Traders Workstation. Okay, we recommend bypassing the API. Why go through another platform when you can connect Bookmap directly to the market and have less chance of any sort of strange things occurring with the data. Yeah, we'd recommend just connecting directly with Rhythmic or CQG. All right, let's continue on. Pricing. All right, so you can subscribe monthly here, yearly, get a 20% discount, or you can also get Bookmap for lifetime. Now, if let's go over some of the monthly options here. You see there's digital versions and then a couple different global versions. The digital version you can see is free. It allows you to connect to one digital currency at a time. That's it. Like I said, though, the market's always open and the data is free. So you can be up and running looking at a live market in Bookmap in minutes. Now, if you want more digital currencies, or if you're a futures trader, as well as a US equities trader, then the next step up is global, okay, for $49 a month. And if you want to check out a live market with your futures, for example, I would suggest trying it for a month, and then you can quit at any time, and then that's that. At least you gave it a good trial for a month, which is a nice long period to be able to check out and see if Bookmap is something useful for you. And then go to our education as well, and really start to understand what Bookmap is offering. It's not for everybody, but hopefully that month-long trial or purchase here or subscription will give you good insight to what's going on in the market and the order flow. Now, moving on up into Global Plus, the difference here is the add-on indicators. Okay, so you get access to our proprietary indicators we developed that look at very specific things in the order flow. Okay, for example, our large lot tracker over here. These are some of the add-ons listed. The large lot tracker allows you to see larger players that might be bullying the order book. There's an iceberg detector. These are larger players that don't want to show where they're getting filled, so they're using iceberg orders. There's some imbalance indicators. There's a correlation tracker. You can also trade from the chart with the add-on package here for Global Plus and other things as well. All right, so those are the different versions. And now we know how to connect, what Bookmap is, how much it costs. Let's go through a few more resources, and then we'll look at the live markets. One of the nice resources we have here is the blog. Okay, so click on that, and you'll see all sorts of things here. Okay, you'll see interviews with other traders. There's resources to take a look at. Here, for example, more here about digital currencies connecting to BitMEX, Bitfinex, GDAX, OKCoin. Here's a list of all sorts of materials here, some reviews, and then we have multiple interviews with traders here. So you might want to check out some of them. And then our Twitter feed. Okay, so let's scroll down here. All sorts of great stuff here as well. Here's a link actually to our Bookmap forum, which is kind of new and up and coming here, so you might want to check that out. All sorts of stuff here, right? Even some trade examples of other traders and retweets to see how other traders are using Bookmap. Okay, and then let's go to our YouTube channel here and go through just some of the playlists here. There's the Pro Trader webinars that we just had last week. If you were attending those, a lot of people really liked them. You can watch them here as well. They're recorded. Then intro videos are here, just very short videos, a couple minutes long. And then order flow education videos here. I think you'll find these very helpful. This is the kind of analysis that we go through in the advanced order flow webinars. Okay, being able to read and see order flow phenomena here that Bookmap can uncover. This is the advantage you're really getting here using Bookmap. Okay, all sorts of features and components here as well, and some selected webinars. All right, well, let's jump into Bookmap and see what's going on. We're looking at the S&P E-mini, and let's define the elements on this chart. Okay, so what are you looking at? And we have like a historical VWAP here. We also have a point of control indicator. We also have this cumulative volume delta subchart. I'm going to close all of those up. We're just going to look at the simple, straightforward Bookmap chart without any of these additional indicators. Oops. Here we go. I'll take off the iceberg and deselect our VWAP as well. All right, so looking at this, if you're new, you're probably looking at something that looks extremely foreign to you. Like, what kind of market data is this? It looks very complex. It's really straightforward. It's actually a lot more straightforward than indicators themselves, because those are derivatives of time, price, and volume. This is not. This is just showing you three elements. One is the best bid and offer. The other are these volume dots, which are just transactions that have taken place on that best bid and offer. Okay, and the third element is the heat map. And the heat map, this orange, reddish, yellow heat map, all it is a recording from your depth of market, your DOM, and it's plotted on the chart historically. Okay, so that's it. So in fact, let's go over the heat map first and define that, because that's usually the most complex one for people to kind of grasp, because this is something distinctive. Other platforms aren't really showing this data here. Okay, and you can learn a lot, and it's very, very insightful here. It really gives a complete picture of the market, of what's going on here. Okay, so we'll zoom in and we'll define it here, this heat map. Okay, so this vertical white line here, it makes the separation between the historical market here to the left and the current market here to the right. Okay, this is the current best bid and offer right here. Okay, and you can see the number here is the last traded volume. Here's our price ladder for the S&P. And then we're going to go over just this current order book column here. Okay, this is your DOM. This is your depth of market. These numeric values here, it represents liquidity. These are contracts. Okay, this is where there are sellers with limit orders at these specific price levels. This is where they want to deal. Down below is where they're on the bid. Okay, and we can see the depth here of the bid and the ask. Just like any other market, this is the auction that's going on. When these numbers change, well, what we do in the current market window here is we paint that into a heat map. So very high areas of liquidity right now, we're looking at 355 as being the highest up here at the 2742. Well, you can see the color. Okay, the color represents the high liquidity. The scale of the colored heat map is up here. So red, orange is very high liquidity, and then yellow is less liquidity, then white, then blue, and then black is the least amount of liquidity. Okay, interesting stuff. See the skew right here in the book with high liquidity coming in at a more aggressive area, okay, and then they just pulled. Okay, so this is where we're offering something unique here, because we just saw 300 contracts pop into the book here and it affected price. Okay, and now they pulled it. Now, if you're looking at a DOM, you're not going to know really what occurred there. Now it's back to 115 or 120 contracts. Okay, whereas it was more than double that just a few seconds ago. Okay, so what we do is when the numbers change here, the heat map changes, but it's recorded. It's recorded and plotted on the chart historically. So these little areas in here, this is the adding and pulling of liquidity. Okay, they added in here, they pulled, they added a little bit for a tiny moment here, then they pulled it again, and then they're back in. Okay, so we're able to now read the auction, okay, historically. Okay, what was their behavior like? It would be rather difficult to understand looking at a DOM. You don't have it recorded. And we're looking at just this kind of recent historical market here. Okay, we can see that there's high liquidity down here, around 33.25, and on the bid, and then there's high liquidity up here around 42, 40, and 39.75. Okay, and we're kind of in between those levels right now. Okay, now look at what's going on here. See them bidding up here? Okay, and they're also pulling on the offer. Let's see if the aggressive buyers come in and maybe try to move price back up into this kind of 38.5 area. Okay, so just reading this context of supply and demand in the auction, and what the reaction here is with the aggressive traders, and then putting those pieces together. See how they're getting more aggressive here, okay, and see how we're finding buyers. All right, well, anyway, it's always changing and shifting. We'll come back and take a look at this and see how this unfolds here. We go through this analysis in depth in the next webinar, which you guys have a link to. Okay, I'll put it back into the chat. If you came late, this is the webinar here for the advanced customers. This is our education. Okay, so you get a sneak peek into it. All right, so okay, my point here. Now we're reading the auction and this heat map here for this kind of recent market activity. Okay, but we can zoom out. Right, we can zoom out and see several hours. This is from 8 o'clock this morning. Okay, I have all this data. Okay? Now we're able to really start to understand what's going on much higher time frames here, and utilize our dome on those higher time frames. Look how this area here of high liquidity that had been in the book for quite a while. Okay, well, price came right up to it. Okay, and it stopped price for a bit. Right. We see the 9:30 open. We see a lot of buy volume here. Okay, and we're above the little swing right here. But it comes up into this area, and it basically absorbs all of that buying pressure. All of these sellers jump into the market, and we see that price pulled back quite a bit here. Okay, and then came back up again and traded into these areas again of high liquidity. Okay, well, you can see at the open as well where they were on the bid. Okay, here's 8:30, and then they jumped in here around this kind of 09, 10 area here, and then they pulled, before 10 o'clock. Okay, so and now you can see them bidding up at higher areas here. So that's bullish if they want to be buyers at higher areas here. We see that the aggressor is in control. So let's go over now the other two elements on the Bookmap chart, so you understand what they are. And that's the aggressive volume. Okay, and let's zoom in, and I'll just define these two elements here. Okay, first I'll take the volume dots off. Okay, and we'll just look at best bid and offer. Okay, this is that. In fact, let's take the heat map off too, so we can really focus here. This is a very, very simple element on the Bookmap chart. Okay, it's just best bid and offer going back and forth over time. The red line is the best offer. The best bid is the green line. Okay, this is an advantage actually to show it this way because it's not aggregated. And what do I mean by aggregated data? Is when you look at a candlestick, we've all looked at candlesticks for years, most likely. Okay, it's aggregated data within a period of 5 minutes, for example, here. Okay, so we don't know what happened between those 5 minutes. It's completely opaque to us. Instead, we're trying to read, wicks and bodies, etc., to try to give us insight to what's going on. Well, here's what's going on. We actually have moved down into an area here, consolidated for a bit, and we broke out of that consolidation. In fact, we came back up here and we held above the swing up here for a bit. Okay, up in this area, we got a pullback, right? And we got the pullback down to kind of where we broke out from here, and then it looks like we just consolidated again here for a bit. And let's see, yeah. Okay, this is we're looking at really what unfolded in the market, and the candlesticks really kind of lie. They don't really give you that complete picture here. Understanding these little areas and how price and volume reacts in these areas. Okay, and that's because you're going to see it in a period. All right, so point made. That's the best bid and offer. But now we're really going to see the difference here when we put the volume dots on. Okay, and the transactions. Okay, so let's zoom into an area here, and actually we'll define them. Okay, because really simple, straightforward data here. The volume dots, this is market buy orders, the green dots. Okay, they cross the spread, they hit the market buy button, and they didn't provide liquidity, they actually took liquidity from the best offer. Okay, a red dot is an aggressive sell. All right, so that's it. That's all it is. Now, in this little area here, you can see it's both buying and selling. It's about half equal here. Let's zoom into this area because Bookmap is recording all of this data very, very precisely. Okay, and you can see really what occurred here. Right? In fact, we can continue to zoom in, and with the S&P especially, there's just so many transactions here. We're down at microsecond level. Okay, we're at millions of seconds here. A blink of an eye would be really, really slow here. This is happening very, very quickly. All right, so in fact, let me zoom out and show you what a blink of an eye time period looks like here. Yeah, 200 milliseconds is roughly it. So we're not even there yet. Okay, there we are. Okay, so between each vertical dotted line is now 200 milliseconds. Okay, you can see how slow that really is in the grand scheme of things here. Anyway, we're very precisely recording the data and plotting it here so you have insight. Okay, now we aggregate that data just visually or graphically when you zoom out, okay, and we put it into bigger dots. So the color and size of the dot gives you understanding of the transactions that occurred. You can use the data tip tool if you want the details here. So we'll hover over this and we can see that it's all buying here. No, there's a little bit of selling in there, a little sliver, but altogether it's a volume of 119 contracts. Okay, this one of the sell is 183 contracts traded. So that's what we're recording here, and that's what we're plotting in terms of volume. And again, this is an advantage because now we have that structure that I was speaking of earlier of starting to understand these little areas of breakouts and consolidation, but we understand the volume that took place in that structure that made that breakout happen. Okay? So this is more accurate than a footprint chart. A footprint chart is also going to be within a period. It will very precisely record the volume, but you won't be able to understand structure. In fact, very typical of this trending to the upside here, more buy volume at higher highs and very little sell volume at these higher lows. Okay? So just starting to understand truly, really what's unfolding in the market and just with this very simple data. All right, so let's take the candlestick off and let's add the heat map on, and now we have the complete picture because now we can see not only the aggressor and the structure, but where they're bidding and offering. Okay? And we can also start to define these areas here of real liquidity that it stays in the book and transacts. Like these guys here, this is they're providing high liquidity here. We actually had 400, and you can see the date, the time, and then what was on the ask here, 445 contracts. Well, what traded here? Okay, well, 424, 463. So yeah, 479 is actually what traded here completely. Okay, so these guys stayed in the book. They wanted to trade here. They're a short. Okay. And you can start to see though, we had more buyers than we had liquidity at these levels. So they traded through these areas. Okay, but at a certain point, all of this liquidity here, if we're finding or meeting the aggressor here, there's probably going to be less aggressors after a lot of these areas start to get filled. Okay, so we start to look for maybe a turnaround that starts to happen. Okay, and the more and more they're getting filled here, the more and more they're starting to absorb. And up here we see, basically complete absorption. Not quite. It actually traded through by a tick or two, but we're really starting to understand these areas here. Okay, of what's going on. In fact, look how they jumped up on the bid here. Okay, they're on the offer here and they transact. Okay, so we know that. That's fact. And then look at them on the bid here, and the aggressive sellers take them on. We're finding sellers now up here, not buyers. Okay, so sellers take it, and if we can get down below these little areas here, sellers can take control. We go back and forth for a bit. And then, yeah, I'm still back and forth, but sellers starting to come in these little areas and pockets, as you can see. Okay, so looking for this to, now we're back up to the current market here. Okay, looking for this to go down. And I'm looking for the next area here of interest is we're looking at some volume profile, some auction market theory here. Looking at this 2733, here's our low volume node here. Okay. Now, actually, this is going to be just clear as day for a lot of traders. They're going to be looking at this low volume node and probably looking to get long here on a pullback, right? Now, we'll see what unfolds here, but what if the sellers can come down here, okay, and go back and forth for a little bit, but then the sellers can go down below with a lot of size here? Well, this low volume node, we're going to trade right back into the range, okay? And anyone that bought from that low volume node here, they're going to be flipping out, now we're starting to understand these levels here of what might unfold in terms of scenarios in the order flow, okay, and start to look at that and who's got control of the market. At the moment, we see the big move here on the buy side, okay? We're coming into this area here. We're probably going to find some buyers here or some sellers covering, okay? So here's our first move, but let's see if we'll come back up here to this little area here, and let's see if the sellers, if we get exhaustion on that buy side, and let's see if the sellers come in and try to get it down below into 32 down here. Anyway, that's that. Here again is the link to the advanced webinar. We'll continue on the discussion there and look more into the order flow. If you guys are interested in attending, register there. You've got the link, and we'll start it in just a minute. Okay. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.